This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Welcome back to the program. We're talking appliances with Jack McIver from McIvers Appliances at 610 Southeast Marine Drive in Vancouver, and online, I haven't mentioned the website yet, Jack, at McIvers.biz, B-I-Z. And one of the things you find out when you go to the website is the, well, astonishing supply of rebuilt appliances. I've been to the store myself. I was quite taken, Jack, with the amount of floor space dedicated to those rebuilt appliances. Clearly, it's a huge part of your business.
Oh yes, I mean it's a huge part, but it's not as large as it used to be.
Okay.
Because the amount of product that we can get, which qualifies to be rebuilt, has to be something that's going to have value by lasting a reasonable amount of time.
Right.
And that could be a long time, because I talked to a customer the other day that we delivered a new Hibsch washer made by Speed Queen, and took out about a 25 or 30-year-old GE. The transmission was leaking oil out of it. And so he said to me, he says, you know, Jack, when you were down on 6th Avenue, I bought a washer and dryer from you. And he says, I used them for about 10 or 12 years, and I sold them to a friend of mine, and he got about another 5 or so years out of them. And that really impressed me, were the words. That was just last week.
Okay.
And this guy's coming back because the rebuilt products he bought gave him value, and he was able to, and it goes on to the next person who has them.
Who got
and
even more value.
They got more value.
Right, right.
And it was partially because we always do proper, good rebuilds, but also the product had some real substantial construction.
Right.
Proper construction. Not this crap that comes off the assembly line today.
Okay, you've left the door about as wide open as it's ever going to get. And moments ago you said, you know, we just don't sell a lot of that because most of the new stuff is terrible or bad or both.
Yes.
So why? What's wrong with all of the new stuff? And 2015 is also going to be a big year for computers on board almost everything in the appliance business, isn't it?
Yes. We've had some products that weren't computerized, but they have computerized them now. So I'm going to have to make a decision whether I'm going to be in the market for those type of new appliances anymore.
So are these new products that you're grumbling about so bad, Jack, because they contain computers, or is there more to it than that?
It's the whole ball of wax.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just not, they're no value appliances. They're just, you buy them, they break down, maybe fix them once, maybe fix them twice, then you're back buying again. And that's what that's all about.
What's a typical warranty on a new appliance product in 2015?
1 year.
1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's a typical warranty on a McIvers rebuilt appliance on the showroom floor?
1 year.
Interesting. And that's, generally speaking, a sturdy, older piece of equipment that's been completely rebuilt, and it probably, what's the expected lifespan, and you know this because you service them all the time, of these new whiz-bang techno toys called appliances? What's a typical expected lifespan, Jack?
Well, the ones that we see coming out are probably 3 to 5 years.
And you were just talking about a fellow moments ago who had one of your older units for 12 years, sold them to a buddy, and he got another 5 or 6 years. So there's close to 20 years on an older unit.
Yes. Well, when this nonsense started, it started because the government turned the CSA regulations over to the manufacturers. And then the
this
government.
This is back when, in the 1980s, Jack?
When free trade came in.
Okay, that'd be the 80s.
And then when they, by the time they got finished with it, we had no fuses in the stoves, and we had everything substandard, no insulation in the stoves, no durability in the washers and dryers. Everything just basically became lower grade, lower grade, lower grade. Deregulation.
Right.
Of the standards.
Okay. And that's created an erosion now.
Well, those standards, Sterling, that we had would not allow one piece of of this crap that's coming across the border or coming across the ocean into this country.
Right. It would have been just rejected.
They couldn't sell it. They couldn't install it.
Okay. And that all changed in the 80s with the free trade. And did we used to have appliance manufacturing here in Canada that
Yes.
after all of these changes in the 80s, it all went south?
And they made money, obviously, because they didn't look poor, and the products they made were made to the CSA standard, and the CSA standard was the standard that the Americans had to get rid of before they could perform this surgery on our bank accounts.
Aha. Okay. And that was went up in a puff of smoke with the free trade deal.
Yeah, but the citizens of Canada weren't told about it, and they weren't asked if they wanted to have garbage appliances.
Mm-hmm.
No, they weren't given any information about it at all.
Well, and yet we managed to, Mulroney managed to win a federal election based on do we want free trade or not. Oh, yeah, please, bring it on, bring it on. Well, suddenly the chickens have come home to roost, Jack.
Well, as I say, I've never seen it as bad, because yesterday I went to this customer's house where I delivered a new washing machine, and I took out a little 24-inch Maytag front load, and they had this plastic dryer cover, which they're white plastic and they're not grounded. And they can catch on fire, actually, if you get a short inside the box. So what happened, this lady was using a tape measure, and she hit the conduit down at the bottom, and it blew the breaker.
Oh.
And what had happened is the way these they use them for stoves and dryers, are made. The screws that hold the power wires in place are accessible under certain conditions because they're not deep enough and protected by the plastic.
Okay.
So their ground wire was sitting
right on top
of the power line.
Right.
And then when I took it apart, I found it because it was the ground wire was soft where it was shorted against, but it didn't actually, didn't go bang or anything, but there was actually electricity running through the whole thing, and that's one of the reasons why those boxes shouldn't be allowed in the country, is because they're not foolproof.
Jack, when are these new products?
But they're still the proper ones are still for sale, and they're metal.
Right.
And
you can replace them.
I replaced it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The new when you get a service call and someone says, look, I don't know why I'm calling you. I just bought this thing 18 months ago and it stopped working already. Can you come out and see what the problem is? I think it's the computer. Are the problems with these new appliances, Jack, mostly computer related, or are there other manufacturing issues that are more problematic than the onboard computer?
Well, we really don't see a lot of that stuff, Sterling, because we just refuse to service it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not your place, because all that's going to happen if you service front load laundry equipment and computer, the big fancy wall ovens and everything else,
and the fridges, because they're
pretty. And you go out and they spend $1,000 or $1,200 on repairs, and a year later something else goes wrong.
Right.
You're not welcome in that house, really, because you haven't done there's no value in what you did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I read that a long time ago, and I just said to myself, I'm not going to sell the stuff. I'm not going to fix the stuff.
Right.
And I painted myself into this little corner of selling lots and lots of washers and dryers that are high quality, and dishwashers that I imported from Italy of very high quality, and rebuilding appliances, and selected new appliances without computers.
Right.
And as of January this year, what I've learned over the past couple of weeks, it's disgusting what's happening.
You mean in terms of more computers in more types of appliances? Okay.
Everything. They closed a factory that was making a reasonable stove in Canada. And where the stoves are going to come from, they're going to come from Mexico. And it's the worst piece of junk that's ever come into Canada. The GE was selling them here before. And they don't even have the controls up on the back. They're on the front like the 40s.
Oh, okay.
And they're all going to be that everybody's going to use that stove here in Canada. So I said, no, hell with that. I'm not going to bother with that. So I bought 50 of these ones that we've got, and that'll get us through for a while.
And well, and again, you know, you said yourself, you've been more often than not called old school and old fashioned because you stick to your guns. You've identified products that work for your customers, that give value to your customers, and everything else isn't worth your time. So why waste your time on stuff that you're not interested in the first place?
That's right. And so I think that the McIver business plan still can survive without that stuff.
Well, if you're on your third generation of Vancouver customers in your 51st year, Jack, I think that's a pretty strong evidence that not only can it survive, but it is flourishing.
There's a lot of appetite now for preservation of good assets.
Right, right.
And I think that we can't cover everybody, but I think we'll do a good job of what we've done and keep doing it.
If you're searching for appliances, do make it a point to include McIvers Appliances at 610 Southeast Marine Drive on your search plan. Chances are once you go there, well, it'll be pretty much it. But you do want to make it a point. Check out the website in advance. That's what we do nowadays. We're becoming more and more educated consumers. They're online at McIvers.biz, B-I-Z, or, as I said, at 610 Southeast Marine Drive here in Vancouver. Lots more still to come on Boomer Life after this.
Canada's only weekly radio show dedicated to the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.